Welcome to the Monitoring Students' Progress mini-lecture. Today we'll be discussing observation, anecdotal notes, and checklists. The purpose of this mini-lecture is to discuss how a teacher can use observations, explain what anecdotal records are, and to describe some of the various kinds of checklists used in assessment. Direct observation is an essential part of any reading program, and it is especially helpful in diagnosing reading strengths and needs. Classroom-centered observations assist teachers in making instructional decisions and help parents and students better understand student achievement. Observation, sometimes called kid watching, is a technique. It is a means of collecting data. As a method of collecting information for assessment, observation has numerous advantages. The major advantage is that it permits information to be recorded in a multitude of literary situations and settings, yielding rich data about what students can do. For observations to be of value, teachers must be as objective as possible and avoid making premature generalizations about a student's behavior. Here are some suggestions on how to make observations as objective and useful as possible. Use anecdotal records and checklists to record observations. There are many styles to choose from. Observe the student over an extended period of time before making any inferences about the student's behavior. Avoid projecting feelings or attitudes onto the student's behavior. You are collecting just the facts, ma'am. Record what occurred in factual terms rather than your interpretation of the behavior. Write what the behavior is, or how often, or in what circumstances the behavior occurs. For example, Richard repeatedly pulled the book away from his reading partner tells what occurred. Richard has trouble sharing a book with a partner is unspecific and judgmental. Use observations in conjunction with other measurement techniques, including those that allow students to report about themselves, such as the Garfield survey. Allow someone else to observe. This is especially important when you are the classroom teacher. Having an objective outsider watch can give you insight that you may not have gotten otherwise. Make sure only observed behavior is recorded and recorded immediately or as soon as possible. The longer you wait, the less you remember and the less objective the data that is remembered. Again, use objective language. Another example. Joanne looks out the window for most of the sustained reading period is factual. Joanne wastes her reading time is judgmental. Especially since we don't know what Joanne is thinking. She could be thinking deeply and critically about something she read in the first seconds of reading time. Look for a pattern of behavior before making any inferences about behavior. Also, avoid sweeping generalizations such as Justin hates to read, Nika works well in groups, or Timmy is uncooperative. If Justin said he hates to read, then you record, Justin stated, I hate to read. Remember that anecdotal records and checklists do not reveal causes of the observed behaviors. They only help to identify patterns of behavior from which a teacher can try to deduce the existence of possible strengths and needs. Finally, note the date and time on all observations. Let's try a simple observation. What do you observe in this picture? Pause the clip and jot down your observations. Look at what you wrote down for this picture. Did you write things like pretty blue shirt, happy, excited, reading a book, dramatic? Of all these statements, only reading a book is objective. The others are all opinions. If you remove the word pretty from pretty blue shirt, then blue shirt would be objective. While reading a book is objective, try to be as specific as possible. So, if the words you wrote down were more like blue shirt, holds book so audience can see it, beige pants, reading Sturgeonona aloud, wears glasses, points to the pictures while reading aloud, then you would have more objective, just the facts ma'am, data. The classroom teacher is in the best possible position to observe and record students' daily interaction with text. These observations can be very helpful in communicating to parents, completing report cards and progress reports, talking with students about their progress, and meeting instructional needs. Observations can be divided into three categories: physical behaviors, cognitive behaviors, and reading strategies observed. You will want to have observations in all three categories to have a good picture of the student's reading behavior. Observations can be recorded in two ways: anecdotal records and checklists. One way to lessen any anxiety related to observations is to use anecdotal records, sometimes called anecdotal notes. Anecdotal records are a record of observed behavior over time that is as objective as possible. They are also notes written by you, the teacher, during or after an observation. When recording observed behavior, make every attempt to put down exactly what has taken place as soon as possible. Record the date and time of the event. Recording and observing the student over an extended period of time is best. What information should be recorded? Although there are no specific guidelines about what should or should not be recorded, teachers should be sure to record a variety of types of behavior, including physical, verbal, and social. The best are descriptive. They capture an event with enough detail so that the teacher can consider it again at a later time. Your 3 questions from the Assessing Literacy Development mini-lecture, what do I want to know, why do I want to know, and how can I best discover the information, will help you determine what you need to record. Remember that observations and the resultant anecdotal record do not explain causes of behavior. When used with other assessment techniques, anecdotal records can help you hypothesize about causes. There are various ways to keep anecdotal records on the students in your classroom. One way to keep track of your observations while ensuring that you observe every student systematically is to make copies of an observation record sheet marked with a square for each student, like the one shown here. The square should be large enough to accommodate a sticky note. Each square is labeled with a student's name. Observations are noted on the sticky notes, which are then attached to the student's square as shown here. As more observations are made, the notes are stacked one on top of the other. Many observations can be kept on one sheet, and there is no need to transfer your comments to another sheet. A drawback is that sticky notes may fall off. Another way is to write them directly on a calendar page with a student's name in each weekday square. The month is already printed on it, and dates and comments are jotted in each student's square as they occur, as shown here. Or, you can make a number of blank sheets with the squares ruled. Notes are made directly on the sheet with the date marked. This system eliminates having to recopy notes onto a sheet, but space for comments is limited. A third system involves making notes on index cards that may be carried in a pocket or on a clipboard. Index cards allow room for numerous or extended comments, but the notes have to be transferred to another sheet for permanence. However, if you are only observing one student or a small group of students, this system is especially useful as you can have it on you at all times for any type of literacy observation or overheard student comment. Whatever system you use to record your observations, you must be careful of several issues: using objective language, observing every student, and including observation time in your plans. Now let's talk about checklists. Checklists usually consist of lists of important and typical behaviors that the observer marks as being present or absent. While the format varies, checklists are a means of systematically and quickly recording a student's behavior. Some checklists are used for whole groups or small groups, and others are used for individual students. Your purposes will determine what type you will use. Group checklists can be used to find general trends among a whole class or small group of learners. Individual checklists are useful in assessing the strengths and weaknesses of an individual student only. Individual checklists may provide the teacher with a complete profile of a student. Regardless of whether a group or individual checklist is used, it should contain an itemized list of behaviors in a domain of reading, a space for dates, and a space for special notes. Checklists are often used by teachers during or after instruction to record observations. However, because assessment checklists are static and students are not, a single checklist, no matter how well designed, will not be suitable over an entire school year. Students develop as readers and writers, and your goals for them change, so your checklist must also change. Teachers who have a broad knowledge base about reading and writing often design their own checklists, but these same teachers often find that the open-ended nature of anecdotal records is more suitable for capturing the rich literacy behaviors and events in their classrooms.